surveillance video. So if you know anything, you are encouraged to reach out to investigators. We are also learning that a hospital's labor and delivery unit is closing for good in Lake County. This is the UF Health Leesburg Hospital that's closing that unit. They tell us simply because they're delivering fewer babies. But as Fox 35's Marley Capper reports, at least one expectant mother says she now needs a new plan.
It's hard enough for a mother to find a doctor, let alone a safe hospital, and feeling comfortable with the whole process. Now an expectant mother expecting her second child is going to have to change her doctor in the middle of her process. Jordan Kelly gave birth to her now 2-year-old son at UF Health Leesburg. This February, she's expecting a baby girl. She was hoping to also deliver her daughter at the same hospital with the same doctor. UF Health says the area is seeing a decline in deliveries and a, quote, growing population of women over 55.
Leesburg is by far the closest. I mean, I can get there in 15 minutes or less. And, it's right across from the OB, so they're always right there.
She says UF Health is by far the closest, but there are other places for expectant mothers. Advent Health, Waterman, and Tavares offers labor and delivery services. Same goes for community birth and wellness centers in Eustis, Orlando Health South Lake Hospital in Claremont, Advent Health Ocala, and Mother's Village Birth Center of Ocala. In a statement sent to Fox 35, UF Health said in part, quote, with significantly fewer deliveries compared with other regional centers and a community increasingly composed of older adults, maintaining full labor and delivery services is no longer sustainable. We are taking steps to ensure every patient and team member feels supported through this transition. The hospital says it's still going to offer emergency OBGYN care and emergency deliveries. But again, that's only going to be for emergency basis. Other women who are expecting or planning to give birth at these hospitals are going to have to find something new in the meantime.
Well, let's give you another look inside, a live look inside the JW Marriott Orlando as the Florida Children and Families Summit gets ready to get underway. We do expect to hear shortly from Casey DeSantis, the First Lady, and the co-chair of the new MAHA commission that was just announced yesterday. We also expect to hear from Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins, the other co-chair of that commission, and Taylor Hatch, who is the Florida DCF secretary, all expected to speak here any minute now. Folks were just given a warning to go ahead and take their seats, so we do expect that to begin. A lot of attention over the past couple of days, well, in the past 24 hours, I should say, about this move from state officials to push to end the state's vaccine mandates. A lot of concern from opponents, but we've also heard some applause from proponents of that. The state basically making that announcement yesterday, Governor Ron DeSantis and Florida Surgeon General Dr. Joseph Ladapo saying that they believe it should be parents' choice whether to vaccinate their children and with what vaccines. So pushing to end those vaccine mandates, that has been the big news at the state level, and also getting a lot of national headlines as well, because that does include getting rid of the vaccine requirements for schools. Here is Taylor Hatch walking up to the podium now. Let's go ahead and listen in here.
Filled with our kickoff general session and a multitude of workshops on topics from everything from empowering youth voice to caring for caregivers. Yesterday, we reflected on the present and we honored the decades of experiences and contributions of those that have come before us, and the inspiring leadership of the last 7 years. We also left with a challenge, reminding everyone that you have been called into the arena and to armor up like only you can. You heard firsthand from youth mentees and mentors, incredible child welfare professionals, including a foster parent and even a leader in the music industry. Those three different descriptions all said the same thing. You are valued, and everyone has a role to play in being the moment that a child, a family, or even a caregiver never forgets. We also acknowledge that getting in the arena, it doesn't come without test. In the words of Josh Shook, our keynote speaker yesterday, like the lap bar on a roller coaster, there will be tests to see if you can hold. The takeaway again, It is not always easy. Not every day will come with a win. But don't underestimate what is possible, because what an opportunity and what a blessing that it is that we get to serve the precious children and families in our great state. One marble matters. One starfish matters. So, building on these foundations and framing today, we will concentrate on being transformative leaders, challenging infrastructures to better perform for the people that they were intended to serve, and inspiring action. As we move through today's session, I encourage you, think about your role in building a better future. Know thyself, consider the systems that you influence, the actions that you can take, and the partnerships you can strengthen to ensure that the work that we do results in meaningful and lasting impact. I can think of no better way to do this than to hear from our next two guests, who at every single turn have shown and acted as a megaphone, lifting up Floridians in need, as well as all of you who do the incredible work every day. These two remarkable leaders, they serve as role models and inspirations to myself as well as others. They utilize their experience and personal experiences in their relentless pursuit to serve others with intensity, as if the person on the other end was their own loved one. These leaders certainly need no introduction, so help me welcome First Lady Casey DeSantis and Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. Well, thank you so much for being here. What an exciting day. Yesterday, we talked a lot about these moments and everyone recentering with their why. And we talked about the last 7 years, and boy, have both of your fingerprints been on the last 7 years, as well as our great governor, of course. And what's cool about today is it is a swivel chair. It's a swivel chair into talking about how to take those moments, how to take our why and put it in action. And so I cannot thank you enough for being here. Every time that I get to visit with both of you, there's so many things that I take away. Lieutenant Governor, whether it's the Meemaw rule, which has really stuck with me, or First Lady, I love the saying of, you can have the best thing in the world, but if nobody knows about it, what good is it, right? And so that wisdom, I am so thankful that we all get to hear it today. So thank you again. We have a lot of content to get through, and so let's jump to it. Does that work? All right. So I have a question for both of you. You have gone on the record when talking about leadership, and you have shared with us that, leadership is not a role. It's what you choose to be every single day. And so my question for both of you is, what does, when you think about leadership, what are the qualities of the blueprint of a leadership that you think you need to possess? So, First Lady?
I think that it's important to have a vision, and I think it's important to be strong in what you believe in. Yesterday I was with the governor and the great lieutenant governor, and we were going back and we were talking about COVID, and we were talking about what happened in this country, in the state of Florida, and there was a time when, were kids going to get back into school, and our businesses going to, be open, and all of these questions. There was a lot of uncertainty, and I just remember from my firsthand perspective, having watched the governor from behind the scenes, really watching him analyze the data, looking to data sets outside the United States, talking to experts, formulating a plan, obviously to put the best interests of Floridians first, to make sure that kids were in school, to make sure that there weren't any forced mRNA COVID vaccinations contingent on people being able to keep their jobs, and all of these things. And it goes back to what I said, you can have all of this, but if you don't have the backbone and the courage to back it up, if you aren't willing to stand out there and sometimes stand alone, then what good is it? You can be the greatest person in the world with the best ideas, but you have to have the ability to be able to fight for what you believe in, and I think courage is like the central focus of all of that.
Well, Casey, I love that, and apparently we're sharing a brain here, so there's a lot of things you're going to hear that are very, very connected. I'm going to start with the word compass. It's your moral compass. You have to know what you believe in, what it is that you get up for each and every day that drives you. For me, I am blessed to be the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Florida. I was blessed to be a Green Beret, but I'm a dad and I'm a husband first and foremost. Those are the things that define me. Those are the things that I wake up for each and every day. And I want to know, am I leaving it better than I got it? Am I doing things that are going to make my family proud of me? The MAHA rule is if your grandmother, your MAHA, whatever you choose to call them, is going to give you the side eye or smack you in the back of the head if you're doing something, you might want to think about that, because it's counter to what your moral compass should be. Those are the things that I think you start with. But then there's courage. You have to have the courage, as the First Lady said, to stand alone, even when times get tough. And it's a conviction to follow through with what you believe. But the last part that I think we often miss is candor. You have to have the candor to speak the truth, no matter the cost.
Thank you both for that. And First Lady, I want to turn to you, because in moments big and small, you just show up. So in big moments, we're on a pretty big stage. That's a good example, right? National platforms, pretty big moments. But it's also the small, quiet moments. And I've shared this with you before, just how impactful that I had the honor to serve as the director for the Agency for Persons with Disabilities. And in the first week on the job, you and the governor opening up the doors of the governor's mansion to invite ladies and their moms and dads to come in and get ready for the exciting night that Night to Shine is. And it was all things hair and makeup, and just what a special just atmosphere that you created for memories that I know they'll never forget. And to me, what was so impactful is that's how we're intended to serve, right? That's what legacy is really all about. And so I want to talk about that legacy a little bit here. So my question for you, First Lady, is when you think about your efforts in public service, what moments or what milestones would you say really have, would you hope that have had a lasting impact?
Yeah, first of all, it's like the why, right? Some people ask you, why do you get involved? Why do you get involved in policy? First of all, I love the policy. But honestly, for me, it's being and having the opportunity to make a difference, and what do you do with it? You probably have heard me say that a lot. I never want to look back and say, man, you could have really done something to help somebody who is struggling, but you didn't get in the arena and you didn't get to fight for them. I mean, there are so many people that I have met and so many people that I have seen firsthand that my heart goes out to folks who are struggling. I don't like to see people suffering. It hurts my soul. And to know that there might be something that we can do about it, man, you want to get in and fight for them. And then you understand, your true north and your compass, what is the proper role of government, right? And what we've been able to do, I believe, is something very special with the philosophy of how Hope Florida works, right? And many of you have done the workshops and have heard us speak about that before. But you have all of these wonderful people in society who are all willing to march and to help that struggling single mother, or to help that veteran, or to help somebody who's homeless on the streets, or somebody who is looking for someone to give them a chance and to give them hope. And the question is then, how does government then navigate that? And what we've been able to do through these Hope Navigators is we've brought in the faith-based community, and we bring in the nonprofits, and we bring in the private sector, and we bring in local government and state government, and you have that one person, that navigator, who is the key point of contact to people who are struggling. What we've been able to do, and I'll get to your question if I'm going to answer it, but what we've been able to do with reaching out, especially, proactively, right? So somebody who's receiving government assistance, to call them and to say, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? Where do you want to be? What are you struggling? And to be able to change the trajectory of somebody's life with one phone call and talking to a human by bringing in all of the resources available in society, to me, that's magic. And that, to me, is one of the greatest things I think we can continue to double down on here in the state of Florida, but also across the nation, to give people a little bit of hope and to give them, just a whole change in trajectory of their lives. And I'll say this last thing. I've talked a lot about the value of mentorship, and I've understood what that means, particularly for our youth, right? Changing the trajectory of their lives and having someone to be there to listen. That doesn't stop when you turn 18. And what I've realized about the value of the navigators, who are exquisite people, and all the people available to help in the community, the churches, is when you make that connection with someone who's struggling over the age of 18, they need mentors too. And it really is it's an amazing thing that I think we've been able to do here in Florida.
Yeah, it is definitely a lifelong journey, and I think what I love about what you just hit on is it makes an impact today, but also just for future generations. and it's so special. So thank you for sharing that. Lieutenant Governor, I'd love to turn it over to you. I have a question for you. So yesterday, we had incredible panelists. So if you were a member of one of those panels, thank you again. We got to hear from youth, and we got to hear from mentors, to your point, First Lady, and we got to hear from incredible child welfare professionals. And you know, what they all shared, it was so impactful. What they shared was, hey, there was this moment in time that really centered them and deeply, deeply connected them to their profession, or deeply centered them into why they wanted to drive and where they were going in the future. And I thought it was incredible to hear and then be able to share that. And so, Lieutenant Governor, I'm curious. I would love to hear from you on, can you share with us a defining moment? A moment maybe from your early childhood, or a moment where someone, you know, that just really made a difference and it set you on the path that you are on now.
You know, Taylor, that's a great question, and I'm going to have to give a little bit longer answer on this one. I know we have a time thing here, but I really want to hit on this. So, you know my background. I was born to a 16-year-old who had substance abuse issues, and I was adopted by my grandparents, and, you know, my life changed. So I think you got to look at that. They didn't have to adopt me. They were past the years where they needed to be raising kids, and they gave me opportunity. They gave me hope. Hope is an incredible word. I believe the most powerful word in our English language, hope's pretty close, but it's tomorrow, because tomorrow predicates hope. You have a choice, whether you're going to choose to do something different, rise up above what goes around you, or you're going to let it drag you down. Tomorrow offers hope, and each and every time you look at it, you have a choice. From there, you know, I ran off to college. I attempted to, you get in, I joined the military, and you never really know how it's going to go. I loved serving in the military, but I wasn't sure I was going to. My grandparents raised me. My grandfather, my dad, was a World War II vet, and he didn't talk a lot about it, but he did tell me about the camaraderie, the brotherhood, you know, the sisterhood with people who are there and invest in you, friends that you can pick up after 20 years, and I've seen that. As luck would have it, I kept volunteering to do more and more and more, and I ran into someone, and, you know, you hear this said, and I want to jump up and down and throw my hands in the air on this. Behind every strong man is a stronger woman, and you got to have someone who is willing to go into battle with you. If you know me, you know my wife, Layla. She's a force of nature. She's the real deal. And as luck would have it, I was serving in the UK, got sent to a school in Arizona, and we went out to Vegas after 3 months of sort of dating and got married. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary. So I share that, thank you, because you have to be with someone who shares your values, who understands you're kind of crazy and is willing to go into the fight beside you. I've seen what you two do, Casey. It's incredible. But think about our world and think about the people you stand beside. She showed me things and taught me things that I didn't know about myself or other pieces, and it was incredible to see how that shifted me. You know, we have 2 boys. They're 10 and 13. How many of you are parents in the audience? So you're going to know exactly where I'm going on this. And if you're not a parent, you will be. This is pretty important. When you have a responsibility for someone that came from your family that you made, it changes everything. Everything about what you do, how you think, and what moves. And Gabe and Colt, we are blessed. We didn't know if we'd have kids. And we struggled with this. We had multiple miscarriages. We went through IUI and IVF. And they give you the opportunity to, again, provide a better tomorrow, to provide hope, and it recenters what you're fighting for. My wife and I both deployed. She was a 20-year veteran as well. She did 20 years as a counter-intel agent, serving in special operations in a time when, frankly, women didn't really do that. She went on the objective and did things that women really weren't doing, and she saved American lives simply because of her courage to step into that lion's den. And we've raised our children to do that, and I'm going to take a sub-note here. Counter-intel mom, Green Beret dad, 43 years of service. You got to feel bad for our kids a little bit. It's very serious in the Collins household. But what I'm getting at is this. As life happens, and I got shot, and I lost my leg, my wife actually retired from the military when I was in Walter Reed, gave up her career, She was a senior counter-intel agent in all of U.S. Army Special Operations, because I didn't know if I was going to wake up with a knee, without a knee, what was going to go on. And she knew our family needed help. You see, our son was struggling with sensory processing disorder. He would throw up 10, 12, 14 times a day. And she said, I got to take care of the most important part of who we are. If your family's not right, and you don't have someone who you work with day in and day out, you can't go slay the dragon for the rest of the world. You can't. And everything I've been able to do is because of her sacrifice, largely to get me up on my leg, on my feet, even though one's rubber now, and keep pushing forward. And the last piece that I'll step into is this. Politics wasn't my dream. It really, when I tell you this, there are a multitude of things I would rather do. It's volumes besides being in politics. But here's what I know. If good men and women who have life experiences, who care about what matters, don't step into the breach to leave it better than we got it, to make sure that our children, the next generation, have everything we love, all those truths that we hold to be self-evident, that are worth fighting for, worth giving all that you are and all that you could be for. If good people don't do that, then all is lost already. And if not me, then who? If not now, then when? But you still have to have people help you. And that person actually was the governor. He opened the door and asked me to step into the Senate. And I wasn't really sure I wanted to do state politics, but man, I am so glad. And it's about performance and living up to those ideas, those ideals, those principles, and fighting for what matters, and the rest is history. So if you don't think one person can make a difference in your life, it's not true. We can make a difference for everyone around us. We just have to choose how we do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for sharing that. First Lady, I want to go back to you. One of my favorite things to hear you talk about, because it's electric and it is fire, is just this concept that, hey, these infrastructures that have been created to serve people should do so. It's not really revelatory, right? But simple isn't always easy. And what I love about when you're talking about these infrastructures and really adding friction to make sure that they're as agile as the people that we serve, that's really, again, what's at the center of and the backbone of Hope Florida. And so I have a question for you. I would like for you to talk to us, if you would, about, that reimagining government and adding that friction, again, while it sounds pretty straightforward, right, that the systems that we create for people should serve them, right, simple is not always easy. And so my question for you, First Lady, is could you share with us, what defines the person-centered, the holistic approach that really is at the heart of the Hope Florida model?
I think it's pretty easy. It's being able to talk to a human-to-human connection, right? That's it. And I think with where we've gotten to with society, it's like we've become less and less attached to one another, less conversations in person, and more electronics and technology getting in the way. And so, one of the things that I noticed very early on, and again, this is such a humbling and such a privileged position that I'm in, and like I told you before, I wanted to maximize it. So one of the things I did was really go around the state and do roundtable listening sessions, and I was meeting with stakeholders about the child welfare sphere and a lot of other things, and it was neat to see, a little surprising, but neat to see people who were serving the same constituency of folks meeting for the first time in a geographic location, and it kind of hit me. I was like, man, maybe we should make a connection with this. And then when he was first elected, and you weren't there yet, but I was trying to figure out how the DCF website worked, and to be honest with you, it was very confusing. And then my heart goes out to like a single mom, right? You're trying to put food on the table. You're trying to keep a job. You're trying to make sure your kids are in school and helping with their homework, and they're brushing their teeth, and they're getting home, and all of these things, paying bills. And just imagine, do you have the bandwidth to be able to navigate a government bureaucracy? No. And even if you could navigate a government bureaucracy, are all the solutions in one stop? No. You wouldn't know to be able to walk in perhaps the front door of this nonprofit to be able to get this, or this church is available to help in this way, or this private sector can give you a paid internship that can help you with this, or maybe the job skills to be able to get a meaningful job, to get past the fiscal cliff, to be able to
First Lady Casey DeSantis, Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins continuing to speak at the JW Marriott Orlando. They are the co-chairs of the Florida MAHA Commission that was just announced yesterday. They haven't talked a whole lot about that. They've been talking a lot about Hope Florida, some other things when it comes to the welfare of children and families. This is the Florida Children and Families Summit that is going on, that they are speaking at as part of this panel discussion with Florida DCF Secretary Taylor Hatch, who is kind of moderating this conversation. We are going to take a break here on Fox Local. We are also standing by for the start of a news conference with Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd announcing the bust of an illegal gambling ring. You can see some of those gaming machines set up inside the Sheriff's Operations Center there in Winter Haven. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. So keep it here on Fox Local.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us. We are expecting a news conference in the next couple of minutes from Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd. You can see Operation Bad Odds. It appears a number of arrests in connection with what is believed to be an illegal gambling ring. You see some of those machines propped up behind the podium there inside the sheriff's office in Winter Haven. And we do expect to hear from Sheriff Judd around 1 o'clock, so in the next few minutes. And we will get you inside that news conference as soon as it begins. You won't miss any of it. You never want to miss a minute of Grady Judd news conference. You see some of the evidence that they have apparently seized as part of this. It looks like a lot of cash, as well as those machines that you see there. Operation Bad Odds. It appears a multi-agency bust here. We expect to hear some more details coming up any minute now. We'll go ahead and get you back, though, in the meantime, to Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins and First Lady Casey DeSantis speaking right now in Orlando. A panel discussion at the Florida Children and Families Summit going on live right now.
I wish I had something on my bread, right? I understand what it's like, but I will tell you, it wasn't the food, it wasn't the money.
And I will apologize for the overmodulated audio here. Nothing we can do about it, that on our end.
Have someone who can mentor you, walk you through, and show you this is what this means, this is how you solve that problem. It's incredible. You are giving them the opportunity as a fish versus teaching them how to fish. It's amazing. I look back at my life. I didn't realize it then, but there were people who just gave me that snippet of teaching me how to fish and opened up that door. And we talk about a relentless pursuit of excellence. excellence has to be our choice in every single thing we do. Aiming for less than that is walking into failure. We have to want to be the best at what we do. And when we talk about those moments, those times that perhaps galvanize us, where there's been a moment that has been stressful, I will tell you there isn't a single time that's done that. There isn't a single lesson I would go to. It's a compilation. I wouldn't trade anything about my life. I will tell you, getting shot, super not awesome. Getting blown up, also equally overrated, but I wouldn't trade the lessons that they offered me because they got me here today. And, you know, I want to share a little bit about my faith on this because I think it's important. You know, my plan was to be a Green Beret, out there on that ragged edge of freedom, serving our nation in a way that nobody ever knew about. That is what I wanted to do. And I fought relentlessly to requalify after I lost my leg. I fought to stay in longer when I knew my body was breaking down. And I failed to listen. You know, God's plan is so much bigger than our plan. No matter how hard I pushed, no matter how hard I didn't want to listen, no matter how much I wanted what I wanted, when I wanted it, how I wanted it, God still had a plan. And when I finally listened, it's amazing how things took a turn. And when I got out of my own way, these paths happened. So what do I do when things go awry? I take a pregnant pause, first and foremost. What you're going through is never going to be the best time in your life, and it's never the worst time in your life. You've been through these things before. You have what you need. You don't need anybody else to solve the problem, to fix the problem. You just got to slow it down, stop, think, analyze, act. If you do that, you're going to take the emotion out, you're going to put the pieces together, and, you know, Hammer, how many times have we heard, how do you solve that complex problem? How do you eat this giant elephant of a problem? Well, you take it one bite at a time, right? You know, just knock down one target, do one thing right, move on to the next, build and develop a path of excellence and success, and before you know it, crazy things happen. Look, if a kid who was raised on welfare, adopted by his grandparents, can be here today talking to you with this opportunity, all things are possible. But you have to control how you approach things. You got to listen. God gave us 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. And then you have to act with a focus and aim for excellence in what you do. And if you do those things, no matter how hard that moment is, you can get past it.
Can I get an amen? Thank you for sharing that. You know, a question for you both. And you just hit on this already, both of you. Leadership, it often requires showing some grit, right? Showing grit in the face of a challenge. And, you know, First Lady, yesterday we were talking, and earlier today too, we talked about, you know, we're called into the arena, right? And we each need to armor up like only we can. And I was thinking about this idea of armor in the book of Ephesians, the armor of God, right? You got a helmet, right? You got this sword, and you have this breastplate. And it goes on the front. And the imagery of that is so purposeful because you're running into battle.
Here is Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd getting ready to announce the results of Operation Bad Odds and the illegal gambling bust. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Wonderful law enforcement professionals. Chief Terry Story is with us, as well as Lieutenant Austin Lill, and our Director of Law Enforcement, Carl Harold, from the Florida Gaming Control Commission. We're going to bring some information